who doesn't like a good steak? But where you place that where you place that steak, and once you place that steak, now you can start pivoting.
Because you're thinking client photographer.
Because you're thinking client.
You're thinking about them.
Yeah. Yeah. You stop thinking about photographer for a moment and you think about client. So I want to work with this client. What do they look like? Where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah.
What do they enjoy? Where do they frequent? Right.
What matters to them?
What matters to them?
Right.
And then you can start realizing from an interior designer's point of view, if you're an interior designer and you're working with this client, what do they need? And for us, so it was fine French, right? And then we looked at their need, and they had a few needs. One is, from an interior designer approach, they needed something for a very powerful wall, their wow wall or the predominant wall.
Right.
So we needed to be able to create a product for that, right? Because that was a need for them.
Right.
And they needed also something to go on a secondary wall, maybe over a credenza or something like that.
Right.
You can just look around this room and identify those walls really quick, right?
Right.
And then you can identify a wall that's maybe a transitional wall, some small wall that goes between, and here it's a headboard and the window, right? Or maybe it's a door and a window or something like that, or maybe it's down a hallway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then they might need something for their desk.
Yep.
And then they might need something to give away as a legacy, like a legacy book, right? Something like that. So we created those products for each one of those for purposes. We designed and created them. And so that's where the mixed media came in for the big wow wall.
The big one, right.
Then we had a peeled emulsion for secondary wall. And then we had a floating art piece that I had created from an art gallery that I'd gone to 30 years ago, and pulled it out of that art gallery. Everything's coming, as you can imagine, from these art galleries.
Sure.
And then we created a smaller piece for the so that was transitional wall, and then a smaller piece for that, and then the album. But so you can kind of see the difference when you're starting to think about a client. You're designing products for these clients,
right? And you're going in prepared.
Right?
And really it's because they don't think necessarily in these terms, but they know that they want these things, but it's almost like you're showing them.
Yes.
You're like, well, here in this space we have this,
right?
And then for this space we have this, right?
Right.
And it's like a learning process almost for them at the same time, because you're not going to go into someone's space and they're going to have that information at the ready,
right?
But you can, because you're thinking client, then photographer,
right?
Did I get it?
Yes. And if you think in terms of Donald Miller, you've got to be very clear with your messaging,
with your messages,
on what that is. And so it's once we created all those products, we still needed to be very clear on who we were, right? And I can't be everything to everybody, so I wanted to be that person when you walk into someone's home that's over top of that mantle or on that wow wall, and it's incredible portraiture, right? It's two things. It's incredible portraiture. It's the very best it can be,
right?
And it's actually the right size.
Yes.
For that space. That's the interior designer piece, right? So it's those two main things, and it's in a beautiful home. So it has a high-end brand. So it's real simple. When people talk about us, they talk about us to their friends and neighbors in our market target, right? That, hey, he's the very best at what he does, which is portraiture. If you need that, he's the very best. And oh, by the way, it's going to be the perfect size. For your home, wherever you put it.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of the appeal for what you do.
Part of the appeal. So when they come in, that becomes basically the milk in the back of the grocery store. You place the milk in the back of the grocery store. You don't have to advertise anything else but the milk.
Because they walk by everything else.
They walk by everything else. They see the other things, and on the way out of the shopping cart, if it's full of the other items, it's a really great day.
What do you say to somebody who is ready to change their perspective and flip the script a little bit like that and think client photographer? Let's say they have their toolbox, right? They're familiar with their camera. They know that they're ready. Right?
Yeah.
How do they start?